Tabletop will start after the following messages. Welcome back to Tabletop, everyone. Today we are still in our heist month, so we are talking about guards and thieves. That's right, we're back under the bed, and we are talking about these classic RPG staples. Whether they're quest givers or potential obstacles, guards and thieves are found in almost every TTRPG in some form or another, and represent, the basic stat blocks a GM will have at their disposal. So today we are going to talk about these characters, but first, who is it that are going to get into some trouble with the law with me?
I'm right here with you, buddy.
What's your name?
It's me, Daniel, and I'm going to be on Team Thief today.
Ooh.
Hey, it's me, Franco, and I'm on Team Thief.
Okay, yeah.
Damn it, I guess I'm a guard. I'm Ian. Shade, whatever. Sorry, I went straight into official mode and just blasted my actual name. Shade's also my name, but still.
Another clue to where you can find Shade on
I really
social
hate
media.
this so much. I hate that so much.
All right, everyone. So we're talking about guards and thieves in this Under the Bed. So how does everyone kind of use them? What are people's thoughts on guards and thieves as monsters in games?
In the last campaign that I've run, my whole government was demonically ruled and operated. So the town guards were also the thieves. So I've used them as bad guys.
Yeah.
Except for the town of Sumner. Everyone loved the town guardsmen there.
Oh, yeah,
Sumner
he was weird. He was close to retirement and was trying to help us out, right?
Everybody in Sumner was so chill. I was like, this is going to be my little happy place over here.
I've used guards recently when running the Kidnap the Archpriest module by Scarples. And one of my players has a background as a town guard. And so that helped me kind of flesh out the local guard a little bit. And I kind of made a distinction between the town guard who go around and, sort of do community patrol stuff. Mm-hmm. And then the military police that is also present in that area.
Those were legitimately terrifying.
Well, that would be the Terminator guards. That's an even separate level. It's sort of mercenaries that were assigned as bodyguards, but a bodyguard is a type of guard.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Shade?
Has guard in the name even. Of course, to me, a guard is anyone protecting something. So a guard can be evil, AGAB, or they can be any kind of lawful person in general. I would say most recently, though, my guards are probably the City Watch of Waterdeep, which everyone loves. They don't hate them at all.
I don't mind them. I just don't like it when they're like, hey, you can't be in our business. And we're like, well, we're on a quest. And they're like, don't be in our business.
Just do what I do and just go around them.
Yeah, that's working so well for you.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually my favorite guard that I've got is Detective Gordo, who is just Columbo. It's just Columbo.
One more thing.
Yeah, one more
thing.
My player who's a town guard, I give him a lot of shit for having been a town guard, because after the first or second adventure, he quit being a town guard because he made a shit ton of money adventuring.
Yeah,
which is kind of what you want to do. But yeah, I just constantly give him shit for being a guard.
Yeah, I think that it's funny because guards, if you're using them as an obstacle, are sort of. And to me, the difference between a guard and a thief is that a thief is usually a proactive obstacle in which to introduce something into a campaign, whereas a guard is a reactive obstacle in which they are trying to stop you from doing a thing.
Hell yeah. That's a very good philosophy.
Yeah, they're very important to a lot of low-level games. If you're starting a a new crew to keep the players from going into murder hobo mode.
Yeah.
You got to have a good town guard or city watch. And yeah, sometimes the guards do decide to fall into the role of adversary, but I don't feel like in our nice fantasy settings that they have to.
Yeah. They can also be a resource.
Wait, no, I'm Team Thief. Fuck them.
But what about thieves? What, do you guys actually use them in games to steal from the party?
Constantly.
Oh, yeah?
I love using thieves.
Yeah, I guess by thieves, I would also throw in like, I don't know, are we talking like bandits too?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
like,
I would.
Like I feel like a bandit is more like a highwayman, like that you encounter.
Man.
Yeah, that you encounter.
Yeah, we used bandits a lot when we were in Barovia.
Yep.
I don't think I've used them as much since then.
I feel like bandits are more like they are thieves, but they are the monster version of thieves.
Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah.
They're sort of a monster rather than a sentient being in a lot of ways.
Wow! Holy
Bandits
shit!
have to be the bad guys because I think a lot of fantasy storytelling, the thief is the hero. A lot of times people want to play the person who's good at getting in and getting out with stuff.
Real
Shade,
quick, before I'm going to interrupt this,
okay,
I got a
sure,
big
all right.
interruption or a big reaction now of saying that they're not sentient. I meant their role in the game.
No, it's okay. You're a monster. We got it.
It just tends to be like when you encounter a bandit, it's like, okay, it's a bandit. The only solution is to kill them.
I mean, I don't think that's true.
I think that is. I mean, you're like,
I mean, you
know,
can pay
on
them off or just like run away or whatever.
But I think to Nick's point, I'm playing an open world game where you have rebels of this clan, and if I see them, it's fight on sight. Yeah. They're a bad guy in the environment.
It's
these
like,
little roving marauder bands.
It's like the is it the O'Doul gang in Red Dead 2 where they just like show up? Those are bandits. They just start shooting at you and you immediately kill them every single time.
Yeah, that's like a video game.
Yeah, this is the TTRPG game.
Yeah, where the person then the bandits are being portrayed by the game master, and the game master can have the bandit act however seems appropriate.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I guess
Like
that's
a
a reflection on me. I don't tend to use bandits as a sentient group of people. It's more just a monster.
Murder hobos are born out of adversarial GMs that are just like, everything's a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were going to ask me something.
I was going to ask you about your distinction with thief. Like, what do you think of as like a thief? Like, how have you run like a thief? Because like we were talking about bandits.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, I mean, I do agree that the thief is the more refined idea. But for me, bandit, so like I like the idea of a bandit king. A bandit king is really just a thief that's a little more rough about how they're going about it. So I would say a thief is probably someone who is going to do things secretly, quietly, using stealth, whereas a bandit's going to use the muscle.
Yeah, I feel like bandits are more like a militarized version of a thief.
Sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
But I love thieves guilds. I love bandit camps. And I like to kind of play with that dichotomy of where are they actually going to fall and how are they going to react? Because yes, I will agree. I gave you a lot of shit about it, Nick, but yeah, a bandit camp is probably going to be an encounter that's going to involve combat. Whereas a thief, I probably expect that, oh no, I want them to fall in love with this charming, roguish asshole.
Yeah, and I think it's also for me, a bandit is somebody who's willing to inflict violence upon people for money, which is a lot like an adventurer.
Yeah.
But also I would say that like usually that would immediately in my mind, if I was playing, put them into a like air quotes evil sort of alignment.
Yeah.
Because I just like think that violence is not like the best thing ever. But I think that you could, to your point, Franco, do a really interesting thing where like a duke or whatever is like, there's a bandit camp, been robbing the highway, go deal with them. You go out there and it's just sort of like a settlement that has been, extracting resources from the dukedom by like highway manning these caravans of goods, and then you'd have a moral dilemma. I think that you could.
Sounds fun.
That sounds good. I think you can do that very easily. But I think that your point, Shade, about thieves being sort of like the romantic sort of thing, I would agree. If I use a thief, I'm always like, okay, I have to make a backstory, a name, get everything ready because they're going to talk to this person. Whereas when I make a group of bandits, I'm not like, this is Kyle. He's been a bandit for 5 years.
Yeah, I guess to bring to your point, like a bandit you kind of see coming, but a thief could be any character you meet because they're going to surprise you with their thiefdom.
And oddly, I would say then that the guards fall more in the bandit camp because I likewise am not going to think of them too often as like, oh, this is, so and so with this backstory.
Yeah, like a thief and the PI would be the axis, and then the bandit and the guard would be the
captain
axis.
of the town guard you would meet and talk to and make deals with. Guardsmen, you'd be like, oh, that's just an obstacle in my way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that faceless NPC in Skyrim.
I like the idea of now you've given me the inspiration to make like thief or bandit background random table.
Yeah, that'd be a fun table.
Yeah.
I'd roll that. Do you guys use specific stat blocks when you're doing, like, do you always, let's just, shorthand, let's say you're playing D&D or whatever you
Never
like.
heard of it.
Yeah, never heard of it. Do you always go for the guard stat block or the thief stat block?
Yeah, I think you could do that pretty easily. I think, if you're just thinking like, well, it's, I don't know, just like think of a weapon and then attach that to like a bunch of like skills or whatever, and then bam, that's a guard.
Yeah, I always start there and then modify it in some way to make it more interesting. Because I think like we were just talking about earlier, in Sumner, I think I gave all of the town guards like a magic helmet so they could communicate with each other, which is just a fun thing to do, like to have a radio system for your town guards that players wouldn't expect to see.
Yeah.
It was also interesting. I played a game recently in like a high lethality campaign where there was like the guard, but there was also like the Inquisition that was attached to the guard.
Oh, God.
And so like the guard, the guard were kind of like paladins, and the Inquisition were sort of like clerics in that the paladins were able to use holy stuff, but they were more martial characters. And then this Inquisitor essentially like would absorb all the damage that we dealt to her in a round, and then that would be the plus that she dealt onto her weapon going back the next round.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's like fucking crazy.
What is this 5e?
Yeah, 5e.
Oh
My character died, but it was great.
Yeah,
That's wild.
I remember you were telling me you had like that chainsaw sword.
Yeah.
I will say I love, so only for the special ones, right? But I love taking like, okay, this guy's supposed to be a bruiser, and so I will take an entirely different, like I'll take a Minotaur stat block or something and be like, this is that guard. And or I don't think I've really gone too crazy with it, but definitely just trying to beef them up.
It's also interesting because like when I think of guards, usually in my games that I've even had kind of guards in, it is sort of like a rubber stamp of like a numbers thing, not so much a individual that's very powerful. But because whenever you have one of those like kind of named guards people, then they become like a hero stat block, and then like that's when I would change them out to be something like that, like you were mentioning. But I think like guards in general, I don't tend to like level them up within to like match the player power. I'm sort of like, these are the guards in this area. If you go to another area, maybe the guards are different there, and maybe like it's a more brutal area, so they're like tougher martially or something.
Yeah.
But I sort of just let them kind of stay, because to your point, we've talked about this in the past, of sort of like the power fantasy of like leveling up or like getting later into a campaign. Like I kind of think it is a fun idea, no matter what kind of campaign it is, to if you have to go back to the starting area, that everything is like as high as you are now, and instead you can kind of like run roughshod over the city, and kind of like you're all like really great thieves now, or really powerful mages, and you can do a lot of stuff to get around this what was before an impossible obstacle. You know what I mean?
I think if you do that thing where you like, well, I'm going to go back to the starting town and just run havoc. Like, I like the idea of them just, like, reacting by being like, okay, well, we have to, like, train all our guards to be better, and then the next time you come back. Or they just, like, hire mercenaries that are, like, crazy powerful, or they, like, hire a wizard or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we have to... I don't know. Like, I like the idea of heroes doing something like that, and now you have a bounty on your head because you're the asshole.
The guards gain experience every time they lose a fight with you until eventually they.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
no, the guards are Saiyans.
Over 9,000 guardsmen. There's over 9,000 guards in this town.
They had to hire them all.
Before we jump into like how we actually get into the nitty gritty of how we're using guards and thieves, I'm curious, who are we sponsored by this week? Maybe we should go into an ad break.
Oh, okay, yeah. Right after this, we will talk about how to
Seamless
use
transition.
these two.
Wow.
Man, does Shade own a Segway shop? Because I think that was a Segway, guys.
Ooh, yeah,
I'll see
absolutely.
you
So good.
after the break.
Hey, I'm Brando.
And I'm Owen.
And we're the hosts of Banter and Such.
Each week we get together with the most interesting people that we know and talk about the things that we're generally interested in.
Like movies,
TV shows,
movies,
nostalgic childhood franchises,
movies,
urban legends,
and sometimes movies.
so check out Banter and Such anywhere you get podcasts.
Banter, ampersand, such.
Or Banter and then the word and then such.
Or just Banter and it fills in the rest automatically for you and you just click on it.
Either way, it's called Banter and Such.
Want to get into some BS with us?
Welcome back to Tabletop, everyone. Today we are talking about guards and thieves in our Under the Bed segment for our heist month. Everyone, welcome back. Shade, how is the Segway shop going?
It's good. I feel like we rolled it out pretty poorly, but
Yeah.
it's getting
Wow.
there.
But first 5 years, you're never gonna make any money, and then you become a real business. So
yeah, first 5 years.
Okay, so here we go.
5 years. It's a long time.
Guards and thieves. We were talking about
Yeah.
them before, but let's talk a little bit more about how we would use them in a game. We were kind of talking about them being sort of these martial blocks that kind of just impede progress. Is that how everyone likes to use them? Do they like to use them as positive forces? Like, what are we doing?
No, only negative forces.
Only negative.
If I'm using guards as a positive, I always feel like it becomes too easy for the players to go, oh, we need to confront this villain. Let's
get
call
the
the
guard.
town guard.
Yeah.
And now we have 10 or 15 town guardsmen
Now
to
you're
run in there. And now,
it's just a party of Karens. Just
Yeah.
constantly calling the town guard.
But I think in that case that you could do something pretty cool and use them as a set piece to set up how crazy difficult that this thing could be. Like, imagine you're like, let's get the whole town guard, and like 20 guards come tromping into
Yeah, that's fun.
a
then
wizard's
you do a
tower.
decimation scene where they
and
all
then,
just
like,
get killed.
Yeah, the wizard like raises his hand, and then all of their souls get pulled out, and they're now like these horrible zombies.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty sick. I love that.
Even easier, just like a command spell or
Yeah.
suggestion. Turn on the party.
Kill them.
Congratulations. you
Unlimited
brought
power.
Why didn't they do that the whole time then?
I don't know.
I found a plot hole.
It could be like an Emperor Palpatine situation where he's like trying to maneuver
Where it's
as
poorly
like a
written.
lawful. Yeah, it's poorly written.
Somehow he
They're trying to
returned.
make something make sense. at
Also,
the
it
end.
only lasts for like 1 minute, so you probably can't use that to take over a town.
That's true. Mass suggestion is an hour?
Yeah.
Or is it
So
10
they,
minutes?
and it's in that stat block that they remember who did it to them at the end.
Is it? Probably. I don't remember.
But yeah, so I guess you
We don't look up rules here.
So I guess you could use
Yep,
it as
that's
sort
us.
of like a positive force and kind of use them as sort of set dressing. But
Yeah.
it seems like most of all of us use them as obstacles. So
Yeah.
how does that work for you guys?
Or
in
a
the games?
TPK stunner. We're like, oh, you're all about to die. Well, the town guard comes in and drags you out.
Arrests
to
you or
safety.
whatever or something.
Right.
You guys hate the town guards.
Well, okay, so
You're Team Thief. You started off that way.
Well, now they're the underdog, and I feel bad.
because my player picked a town guard background, I was like, let me like soften them up, and they're just basically like they're like a
Doughboys.
community, huh?
I said doughboys.
Yeah, they're like a community. They're sort of like more like a community like protection type of thing.
Oh,
and then, like,
volunteer based.
something like that.
We tried to do that in Danny's game where we were trying to become sort of like a positive force. So we made like a town watch to like make sure all the businesses were fine and make
Sure.
sure that nobody, hurt anybody within this like block radius. Did not end well. One of our volunteers got locked into a barrel full of water and was drowned and then
the
thrown into our bar.
Holy shit.
They started a gang war, and the innocents on the street were the first to get taken. That's not my fault. I was just telling the story as it unraveled.
As the DM, this is not my fault. Yeah. So what about everyone else?
I mean, yeah, I think that they are perfect for set dressing. I think that they're good quest givers, personally. I like guards kind of being like, hey,
Hey, I fucked up. Please help before anyone finds out.
Pretty much. Or
Hey, I'm bad at investigating murders, so you do it.
yeah. Or thieves, hiring you to kind of distract someone while you're while they slip in and do their thing.
Well, in that case, I was gonna move towards that too. Of like, how do you guys use thieves? So it sounds like you also use them as sort of like the quest giver class. Or
I enjoy a thief as a quest giver. Absolutely.
Yeah, please help me get this thing from the dungeon.
Yeah.
Or even thieving a thief, you know?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
like
Ooh,
stealing
thief
something
wars.
for another thief.
My favorite kind of heist is
Yeah.
thieving another thief.
I have never used a thief in any of my games.
Really?
Yeah, never.
Okay,
I want to sit
can
on
see
that for a
that.
second.
Try to figure it out.
Yeah,
Come at
I'll
me.
think. Well, we'll circle back to that.
we're gonna pitch thief plots.
I don't think
to
I've ever used a
Nick.
thief explicitly.
Yeah, for me, like the closest I could
like
get is
bandits.
like the casino heist that I had you guys do once. That had like corrupt casino guys, but those were bruisers, not thieves.
Those
like,
were bandits, definitely.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, like, I used Gold Drag, the Beholder that ran up, but they were also highway robbers, bandits.
Yeah.
Not really thieves. Maybe I also
Not sort of
haven't
a
used a
people of
thief.
skill, more people of muscle.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
no
like
finesse.
yeah, I think using the thief as a quest giver or even the town guard as a quest giver, I think that is a very good avenue for like underhandedness in like a deceptive quest where you're just like, oh, but it was just so that you could distract somebody else or something, or like the thing that I made you go get was like the thing that I made you do, I didn't tell you everything about it. It's actually a really bad thing that you're doing.
I take back what I said. I've used a thief app actually just once, and it was Willa Stabums when you guys
Okay,
all
there we
went
go. Right.
to kill that Dracolich, and then I was like, hey, you guys found like a chest or whatever. Roll me a d20 to see like what you find or whatever, and it was actually her contested roll of what she's stealing from you. And at the end, she was like, see you suckers, and like wished out, and you guys had to fight the Dracolich.
Yes, I knew something fell off. Thank
Willa
you.
Stabums. What
Yeah.
a beast.
A continuation of my just disdain for anyone that's not Bill in that family.
She was so powerful as an NPC that not even you ever used her. When we met the Stabums clan, she was like out with her wishing.
Non-canonical. Non-canonical Willa Stabums.
So speaking of your, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to steal lines.
Oh,
from
you're
you
opening
now.
a segue shop too?
I'm opening up a segue shop.
Good luck. I've been out this for 5 years, man.
Still haven't turned a profit.
No.
Are guards always good? Are thieves always bad?
No,
Absolutely
I
not.
think from our
Yeah.
conversation, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I feel like honestly, it kind of feels the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, thieves
Yeah,
are good,
true.
guards are bad, generally.
Yeah, I actually.
That Robin Hood Aladdin thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There was a really interesting article I read once about how in the 70s there was a switch in how people wrote villains and heroes, in that before that it was like heroes were trying to be, they were like people of like the law or whatever, and that they were trying to do stuff and they were trying to prevent people from making some sort of change. Then it went into the 70s and 80s like action hero thing where it was like Rambo or whoever, and it was like an individual acting outside of the system to make some sort of dramatic change or good, which was, I think, a reflection of our distrust in our systems.
Yeah.
And then actually after 9/11, it switched back where they were like, everyone was like, it was the FBI, it was the U.S. government, it was
true.
like all that kind of stuff. So it becomes people trying to stop change again. So I feel like it can kind of go with the trends, but I think where we are right now, that guards are usually like seen within greater media as like the good guys, and I think that we're starting to switch into the opposite of like that is in motion to change again. So I feel like in all my games it's like guards bad, thieves good, but that could be my anti-capitalist sort
Because
of
that's
feeling.
one of the things that I run into like a lot running games. Is like, okay, I don't want my world to have the guards be bad guys,
right.
But the prevalent opinion so often is like, oh, guards, police, they're bad, and I'm going to harass them. It's like, no, my fantasy world, they're nice here. But yeah, we're just in a situation where like, no, I'm not going to trust the town guard. Well, yeah, and I have to say, also as a player, I'm in Waterdeep.
You don't do
and
it.
I fuck with the town guard.
Oh my God,
but also they keep accusing me of crimes.
Well, hey, should I say
because they're bad?
I do notice
because you do
though,
crime. Yeah.
I do notice, Daniel, that not even you said falsely accuse. You said accuse.
There's. Yeah.
They just know what's up. I think if you're going to really use them as backdrop, they need to just you need to have very clear, concise, these are the laws, and this one's supporting and upholding those laws, and this one is not. And then that's it. If they're backdrop, don't get into the stuff of like, but they're thieving for a good reason, or but they're actually also skimming profit and abusing people as guards. Like, that's backdrop stuff.
Unless you want to do a campaign.
Unless you want to do
specifically focus on.
Unless you want to do faction play.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Which is always tough. I feel like faction play is hard.
I have a system.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
like
stole
a table or what?
Yeah, I took it from Mouse Raider and kind of adapted it. Nice. Mouse Raider is a really good game. People should check it out. You play mice. Yeah, it's basically like when you make a faction, you want to give them like an ultimate goal, and you want to give them smaller goals that lead up to that goal, and then you can just arbitrarily mark progress for them. I did this, and I guess we'll probably talk about this in a future episode, but like I did this during like a downtime turn, where it's just like, okay, I'm going to roll a d6 and see if they progress in their goal. And you can make the town guard as a faction. You can make if you want to get really nitty gritty, you can be like, oh, there's like a reformist, town guard, contingency or whatever. And then there's like the very authoritarian town guard faction that is like, trying to do whatever the evil duke wants them to do or whatever. And then like, you can have them sort of progress towards their goals, just on a die roll. And then the players can interact with that however they want.
For me, I feel like I always love having that in the back of my brain. Like, I want to be a DM that has, or GM that has all of this stuff happening in the background. But I find that me as a person can only track like two things, really, to get it going. Like when we were doing Lakewood, I could track Sandy Tiva's and what it was doing and like how it was affecting the world. And I could track how like you guys were doing and the current monster. And those were the two things that I really could keep active in my brain, because otherwise everything kind of falls out. So like for me, if I was to do that, which I love the idea of, it's such a cool, like having this, like it breathes so much life into like an otherwise sort of like you were saying, Shade, like a background thing. Yeah. But I also think that it's kind of hard for me as a GM to like keep all of those things active. So like, do you guys have some sort of way to keep all of these kind of factions, even if they are just used as obstacles, feel like alive and fresh? Or do you sort of just say like, they're obstacles, they're faceless, they're just there kind of thing? I
have the same kind of struggle I think you were saying. It's like I like to have them. They make the world feel fuller. But it is really hard to have them sort of rolling forward with progress at the same time the party is, because you have to focus on what your players want, what they're trying to do, and then also I have this other group that's trying to move stuff too. So either you as the DM have to be like, all right, we did all of this. I need a 10-minute break so I can see how the world reacts to that, or just becomes an extra part of something that you have to do in between sessions. So how did this happen?
I guess that does make sense to Franco's little utterance there, like, and to what you were saying. Either it becomes a pretty lengthy part of a prep process, or it becomes a table or something that you kind of roll. Yeah, like that is just mechanical and like like story oriented, I guess.
Like if you like taking the pressure off of bookkeeping can be very important. Like a lot of times, like you know, bookkeeping is a really difficult part of GMing, and it's also kind of like the ephemeral nature of memory or whatever.
Guys, we should do an episode on that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'd forget if we have or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you sort of proceduralize things that are like making progress or whatever, and you're just like, would this, in Argot there was like the faction of giants and I didn't really keep any tabs on them or anything like that. It was just, and then there were 2 competing factions within that, right?
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of like, is one going to win or the other going to win? And I kind of just made that choice arbitrarily. I didn't do as much faction play there, but in my current game, I am trying to see how it might pan out. So I don't know. I'll see.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that if there are multiple factions and they are opposed, they are in a stalemate until the player characters tip it. One way or another. That's just got to be the way it is. If you really want to have like a faction that they just haven't been interacting with suddenly takes power, that is now a central plot point. And I think honestly, a good example of that is with the Canaries and with Dark Kingdom. Obviously, we were interacting kind of loosely with what was going on in the backdrop there. But when we transitioned into a Dark Kingdom scenario wherein suddenly the world is ran by demonic forces, we didn't really like influence it towards that direction. That just happened. And now this is a thing we have to, as players, deal with. So that's kind of my take on it. I think you should try, until you want that particular faction to be a central point, they should be backgrounds. But I think that there are lots of fun moments for guards and bandits or thieves or whatever you want to nomenclate here, which is not a verb, but we'll make it one here.
We'll use it.
Brings me you bring up a good point, and I think it would be a fun game to have like just a city-style game with the guards being one faction and thieves being another. And the players get to just like run around and decide, are we going to help the thieves or the guards gain the upper hand over the city?
Yeah.
That could be a fun campaign.
Yeah,
and that's free for you, the listeners.
And that's and that you can set that up to be essentially, will this be a game of revolution or will this be a game of keeping the status quo?
Bootlicking.
Yeah.
It could also be like an interesting thing too, though, because like they're going to how you can use them. For me, when you said that, for me, that what came up is that those factions are actually at a stalemate, but they like it that way because the thieves kind of rely upon the guards to require their services. Like they need to get past the guards to steal stuff, and the guards require the thieves so that people pay them to stop crime.
Protection racket.
Yeah, and so then it becomes like a thing where the party could be someone who like enters into this like
That sounds like one faction.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like one faction. Then they're going to be like, who are these like 5 people who are coming in and messing everything up?
Yeah.
And that could be fun too. But let's talk a little bit about where in like what campaigns you would most like to use guards and thieves. What purpose can they fulfill within specific types of games for our listeners, and then we can wrap up. So,
well, because it's May, obviously heists.
Yes.
You need guards. They are central to a heist.
And competing thieves.
Yeah, the big point I think we've made is based on your game, guards and bandits can take up the same role storytelling-wise. If you are going against the status quo, then you're going to side with the bandits and try to get past the guards. If your group's trying to play like the city heroes, then you need to side with the guards against the bandits. And they're sort of like, I hate to, 2 sides of the same coin, so you kind of just can use them interchangeably.
You and I.
Yeah, so true.
I think like in Franco, we've talked about this before, but like enemies as traps. I feel like guards are a really great trap.
Yeah, they're a really good trap.
Yeah, where if like you go in, you like show up at a crime scene and you like trigger a rope or whatever, and then like 5 guardsmen like run
Fall
down
from the ceiling.
Yeah, we got them. They rappel down and like, got him, boys.
Always returns to the scene of the crime.
Yeah,
it's just somebody using like faulty logic to catch their thieves, and
Yeah.
then they just end up catching you, and then they
Catch and
falsely accuse
release.
you and shit.
Still, rappelling into a scene is a great way to introduce any bad guy.
Also, immediately NPC favorite by the crew. I mean, if I was in a game where like we were, finding an object and we're like, what's this? And then 5 guards rappelled down and one of them was like, hands up, we finally caught you, you sons of bitches. And we were like, what? I would love these guys. I'd be like, who are they?
I would be angry.
They are working so hard to catch these thieves. I respect them.
Fuck. Oh man, it's not them. We gotta climb all the way back up.
Yeah.
All right, reset to 1, boys.
Yeah, one person's rope snaps and they just hit the ground dead.
Oh, damn.
For me, like I think that I would use Thieves as a way of disrupting. Like it's like shaking the ball a little bit, where you like there's a bad check for a campfire watch roll or something, and they wake up and someone's rustling through their bags and like looks up and you see that they have the key that you worked on so hard to get, and then like runs off into the darkness, and you're like, we're gonna get this guy.
One of my favorite types of thieves is the thief of credits. I like
Just to enrage
a
your
character.
players.
Yes, I like a character who has somehow just kind of like, maybe they have actually stolen something from the player characters, but more importantly, they've stolen their renown.
Oh, the Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yes, correct. Because that is a thief trope in my mind, where no, we were the ones that killed that Hydra, but this guy happened to be around, and everyone respects him, and he just regularly pops up. He just lucks his way into situations, and then also just actually rob them. Those are the ones that I personally love.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of the D&D movie in a way, where like you take the fall for something, and then you come out and you're like, that motherfucker. Like, he set us up and now has taken all of this.
He's Lord Neverwinter.
Yeah,
elves.
exactly. I think that could be like the start of a really cool campaign too.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked for the D&D movie. Why couldn't it work for anyone else? That's true. Any other types of campaigns you guys really like to throw guards and thieves in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, they're such a staple. They're
the salt and
They
pepper.
should be somewhere. Like in every single one of your campaigns. You're doing a seafaring campaign. Guess what? There's a special thief for that. It's called a pirates.
Or the Coast Guard comes around.
Or the Coast Guard comes around. That's right. Doing a astroplane. Don't worry. The Space Guards go around. They get the
Space
Yankee
Guard,
around.
Space Force.
Yeah, I think they're good for any campaign. But I think that they're also perfect, though, for one-shots and dungeon crawls, because you are going to have something guarding something at some point, whether it's, an iron golem or something that's still guarding something, and the thief is absolutely someone who is competing with you.
That's actually a really interesting point that we didn't talk about earlier, but there is a difference between guards and monsters as guards, because for me, in my mind, like, monsters as guards, there's a whole section of the game that it kind of precludes you from, whereas like humans as guards or like sentient things as guards, you can use a bunch of you. Again, I'm talking about an iron golem. That's not sentient. But like
Well, it's not sapient.
That's fair. That's valid.
Fair.
Yeah.
Damn.
But I was thinking like, because a guard that can be reasoned with in some way adds a bunch of skills from different classes and things that you can't really, like, you just don't use, because most of the other types of guards you use combat to deal with, which is a separate game, really. So you kind of have your choice.
You can negotiate with a golem.
It's like destroy, and you're like, no, I'll give you gold, and it's like smash, smash, smash.
I'll give you these rocks to eat.
So anything else before we wrap this up?
No.
No, we're
Not for
done.
me.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done. Well, everyone, thank you so much for talking with us about guards and thieves.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah.
Sure. This is also getting towards the end of Heist Month, so if everybody really loved it and wants to hear other themed months, please go to our website, tabletoppod.com. You can go to the little form there that will get straight to our email. You can type in any requests, any questions you have. We love mailbag episodes as well. We read all of the things that you write. Tabletop is also a proud member of the Helios Network. You might be asking, what is the Helios Network? Well, it's a network of podcasts made by regular people for regular people. And you can check out a bunch of the other podcasts. One of my favorites is Banter and Such. Really great folks over there talking about movies and culture. But you can also, of course, hit the subscribe button down below for our podcast. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Hey you, Welcome to Forge of Lore, where we tell stories through Dungeons and Dragons.
Let me tell you a story about Thorin. Thorin is littered with the abandoned remnants of an ancient, high-tech civilization. Under the miles-long robot stands the largest city any of you have ever seen. We join 4 Thorins in their adventure through this strange world.
Have this teddy bear. It looks like it's been stabbed with a giant sword.
I might have nearly stolen your woman.
Oh, that'd be hot. I'd be okay with that.
One of my costume mustaches, I put that into someone's pocket. You get a mustache.
It seems like you all have fun.
Is that the word?
I'm not sure.
Our YouTube channel can be found at forgeoflore.com. The audio-only podcast is available on all major podcast apps. New episodes every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK.